Hey everyone, so you've invested in a new powerhouse camera like the new LUMIX GH7 or the S1 Mark II. You're ready to create incredible professional work, but if you're just using internal cards, you may be hitting some frustrating limits. Slow transfers, high media cost, and even overheating. What if I told you this little guy is a solution to all those problems and even has a surprising benefit that helps your camera run better and longer during intense shoots? More on that in just a minute. Today, we're breaking down the completely updated guide to using an external SSD with your modern LUMIX camera. We'll cover why it's a no-brainer for pros, which drives to buy, and the new features that make this workflow better than ever. Let's get into it. First up, why you should even go through the trouble. There are 4 huge reasons: cost, speed, quality, and thermals. Let's talk about cost. A 1TB portable SSD will run you around $110. To get a top-of-the-line 1TB V90 SD card, well, that starts at $799. And a 2TB CF Express card Type B starts at $500. You'd be spending several $100s easily. The value proposition for SSDs is off the charts. Next, speed and convenience. Not only can you edit directly from the SSD, so you don't need a separate reader, but cameras like the LUMIX S1 Mark II have a killer feature. You can transfer files from your internal card straight to the SSD in the camera. It's an amazing way to create instant backups in the field without a laptop. To get the absolute best image quality, you want to shoot in formats like Apple ProRes RAW, you have to use either a CF Express Type B or use a SSD. Recording RAW directly to an SSD gives you the same incredible quality on much cheaper, higher capacity media and helps you keep your camera cool during long takes. It's a more sustainable and professional way to handle these massive files. Plus, these files can live on the SSD, freeing up valuable space on your computer's hard drive. Now, for that surprising benefit that I mentioned earlier, thermals. The S1 Mark II uses super fast CF Express Type B cards. They are incredible, but they generate a lot of heat during recordings, especially with RAW. They can even trigger a thermal warning. By recording directly to an SSD, you bypass the internal card entirely. Since the CF Express card isn't doing any work, it isn't generating any heat, which keeps the camera's internal temperature significantly lower and lets you shoot for much longer without interruption. Okay, alright, you're convinced. But you can't just grab any old SSD, it has to be the right one. There are lots of external drives. You probably even have your old one from college laying around, and you could just use that, right? Wrong. You have to use a modern solid-state drive, an actual SSD. Your old external hard drives, especially the mechanical ones from an old computer or laptop, will not work. Period. They're just not fast enough. The critical requirement here to remember is the connection. The drive has to support USB 3.2, sometimes called Thunderbolt 4 or faster. So if you're thinking of grabbing that old drive from your desk drawer, just know it's not going to cut it for this one. LUMIX site has a list of tested and recommended SSDs. Using an approved drive is always the safest way to guarantee it works. I'll link that in the description, but I have found the list isn't the whole story. I've heard from people who've had issues with drives on that list, and I've had great success with drives that aren't on that list at all. So the list is a great place to start, but it's really just telling you what they know for sure works. You can go with a popular pre-built drive like the Samsung T7 Shield or the Sandisk Extreme like the one I have here. If you want some cheaper solutions, then let me show you this. The one that I have here connected to the S2 is made by a company called SSK. Now I got this one off Amazon, and it's not incredibly cheaper, but it is a good 20 to 30 bucks cheaper, which if you need to buy a few, could get you an extra drive. It has the same specifications as this drive. It's just made a little different. As you can see, it's smaller, which is good actually, that's an advantage, but it doesn't have like this rubber casing around it. I think Sandisk, the name is just a little more well known and people may feel a little more comfortable with it. I think I do. It definitely has this rubber casing around it, which makes me feel better if it falls, like it's going to be safer. This one doesn't have it. Now, if you have a 3D printer, you can always print a case to go around these, like I did with this one. Even though I feel like it's safe, I just felt like having it in a case would make it just a little better. So I really like this little case. There's all kinds of them online already designed, so you don't really have to do a lot of work to get one of these. The Sandisk and the SSK though, I can't tell a difference in how they operate. They both hold the same amount. They're both 2 terabyte drives and they both handle the same kind of files. Now, these are great, but if you want the absolute cheapest way to get a massive amount of storage, let me show you one of my secret tips. This is a M.2 enclosure. You can find them on Amazon for about 10 bucks. You buy this, then you buy a separate internal M2 drive, which are incredibly cheap. You can get them for 90 bucks new, and if you can even find them used, you can get them cheaper if you're on a budget. All you have to do is install it inside this enclosure, and it works fine with the camera. Installing it is usually toolless or just 1 or 2 screws. The one caveat with this DIY method is that they can get warm. So you may want to spend a couple of extra dollars and get an enclosure that has a built-in fan or a larger heatsink for active cooling. I personally have never seen a drive that didn't work with my LUMIX cameras as long as it was USB 3.2, but we all have to draw our own conclusions. I do want to make sure all the guys who are going to start typing, "What about this and what about that?" hear me clearly. My official recommendation is to stick with the approved list if you want peace of mind. But I know that these other options have worked flawlessly for me. No matter which drive you choose, the drive is only half the battle. The cable is just as important. A cheap, low-quality cable simply won't work. It will start to record and then fail, cutting off your recording mid-shot. From my experience, these are the specs that guarantee a reliable connection. I only use cables rated for 40 gigabytes per second and 240 watts of delivery power, just like this one here, and they all usually say it right there. That's how I know my cable's gonna work. Now, some of those other cables may or may not work, I don't know, but these always work. You can't go wrong with them. Lesser cables can fail. These just don't. They're always thick, braided, and super durable. I'll put a couple of affiliate links to the exact ones I use down in the description. All right, let's get this set up. The first crucial step is formatting the drive, and you have 2 simple options here. You can do it on your computer or you can do it directly in camera. Let's start with the computer. This is a great way to do it, especially if you're prepping multiple drives. The only thing you need to ensure is that the drive is formatted as EXFAT. As long as you do that, you're good to go. I've done it both on my Windows and my MacBook. Worked perfect every time. The other method is to format it directly in camera. Both ways work perfectly. If you use this method, plug your SSD in to the camera and go to the spanner icon. Then, the card file menu, find the USB SSD format option, select it, and run the format. I'm not going to push it because this drive doesn't need to be formatted. There is one more critical menu step that you cannot skip. The camera will not automatically recognize the SSD, so you have to explicitly tell it to. In that same card file menu, you'll see an option and it just says USB SSD. You have to go there and set it to on, just like this. Change it from off to on. If you don't do this, the camera will ignore the drive. Once that's enabled, you can mount your drive. The last thing you want is the cable getting yanked out mid-shot. The best way is with a camera cage and a dedicated SSD holder, just like this one from Newer. It clamps the drive and the cable securely right to your rig, and you don't have to worry about it getting yanked out. This one actually cinches down on it and keeps it tight. This one only cost about $12. Now, when you go to record, you'll see that little SSD icon right here. It'll be on your screen, confirming that you've set it up correctly and it's on and ready to go. Let's cover a few pro tips to make sure your shoots go smoothly. First is power. Recording to an SSD uses a little bit more battery. Make sure you have plenty of extras or consider an external power solution like a V-mount battery for longer shoots. Second, always double check your media target. Before you hit record, glance at the screen and make sure that you see the little SSD icon. It's a simple habit that will prevent you from accidentally recording a huge RAW file to your small internal card when you meant to use the SSD. It's also crucial to remember that in-camera backup feature I told you about. On the S1 Mark II, if you shoot something important on the internal card, take 30 seconds and you can copy it over to your SSD before you pack up. It could save your shoot. So that's a complete workflow. Using an SSD saves you time, money, and lets you record RAW more reliably. And it keeps your camera cool. Check those compatibility lists, get a good cage mount, and you'll be ready for anything. If this video helped you out, hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you in the next one.